Hey, this is Ableton Basics for absolute beginners, whether you are a newborn baby or you come from another DAW like FL Studio. By the end of this video, I guarantee you that you will be able to make some noise and even export that as a tiny song and show it to your friends or your pet or your closest relative. My approach is always to ignore unnecessary things at the beginning that are only going to confuse you, and I understand Ableton looks scary at first, but it's really simple. Let's go. So let's start at the beginning, which is what we see when we open up the program, and this is that. This is one of two views that we have available in Ableton, and I'm gonna go into more detail about this later, so we start smooth. But basically you wanna know that this view that we are seeing right now is called Session View. And if we click here on the upper right, we can switch from one view to another. So this is Session View and this is Arrangement View. And you can kind of tell this is where we have a timeline going from left to right and we can organize our song, very similar to all of the other DAWs. But this is more unique to Ableton and you're going to understand what this is. For now, you can kind of think of this as an easy way to sketch things. And in my opinion, this is very beginner friendly. So we're going to work here for now. And then Arrangement is where we can be more precise and where we are going to eventually finish our song, because this is where we can do all of the building, editing, polishing. Everything is going to end up here on Arrangement View. That's all you need to know for now. Remember, we can change the view here, or you can press Tab. You probably noticed that we have like this rectangle here on the far right, and this is going to be our browser. Super important. This is where we are going to find Ableton's instruments, external plugins, our own libraries, samples, whatever we have downloaded to use. If we go to drums, we are going to get some drum kits. If we go to instruments or sounds, we are going to get Ableton stock sounds. If you have your cursor over, these limits, you can stretch things to be able to read better. Same here. All of my libraries are down here. Whatever sample pack you buy or download, or the sounds from samplefocus.com that you can get for free, they can all be here ready for you to just select whatever you want and use it. Quick note, if you downloaded a sample pack and you want to have it here, you can just drag and drop from the download folder, ready to access from Ableton. This is for people who never used a DAW before. We have two different types of channels. We have Midi channels, we have audio channels. Midi channels is where we can play instruments, either synthesizers, we can play a sample through a sampler, like a kick sound. We can play it with our keyboard and make sequences. And then audio channels is where we can play straight up audio, like someone saying, woo, we can throw that into an audio channel and then we don't need to play that. Or if you download drum loops and you want to just play a drum loop continuously, or we can record our voice into an audio channel. So if we want to work with instruments, if we want to play things with our keyboard, we need to use Midi. As you can see, by default in the empty project, we get 2 Midi and 2 audio channels. But if you want more, you can come here, create, insert audio track, insert Midi track. Everything you can do is here on the menu, and you can see the shortcuts as well if you want to learn those. Now I'm gonna show you the first thing I did the first time I used Ableton like a decade ago. Ableton was not intuitive at all for me. I had my libraries because I was already using FL Studio. What I did is just drag one kick into a Midi channel. So what happens when we drag a kick into a Midi channel? This thing was created, and this is called a clip. We turn this into a clip. This is where the clips go. So if we double click on the clip, we can see here the waveform of this kick. We can also see that there is a little play button on the clip, so we can click that and see what happens. Okay, we can hear the kick, but it's just what we call a one shot. It's just one time. It doesn't repeat. Why is this not working? What happens if I throw the kick inside an audio channel? Exactly the same. It's the same thing. Why? Because what I did by throwing a kick here, and this is a very common mistake that you can make at first, is that we transform this Midi channel into an audio channel. This is no longer a Midi channel. And one way in which you can tell is with this little thing. This is basically a channel activator, okay? This is our way to tell Ableton, hey, I want to record in this channel. But you can see how audio and Midi are different. This is like a full circle, and this is like, it has like a little line here. You can barely see, but you can tell the difference. There is a way in which we can drag a kick inside a MIDI and get a way to play it. And that's possible if we double click on the MIDI channel. It looks like nothing happened, but you can see down here that it says drop an instrument or a sample here. Okay, let's drop a sample here. Now this is a device, which is basically a sampler, which lets us play this sample. As you can see, there is no clip, but we have an instrument with this sample inside of it. And we can actually play it with our keyboard. We have our kick there, but how do we make a sequence? I want to have like a boom, 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 boom. What do we do? For that, we have to create a clip. How do we create a clip? Remember, a clip is like this. In this case, it's an audio clip, but we can create a MIDI clip by doing double click. Boom. And as you can see, automatically, we get this piano roll down here that, remember, we can move to have more or less space. And here is where we can, by doing double click, create a simple. When you position your cursor at the end of the note, you can see that we have this bracket. And if we hold and drag, we can make a longer note. The next logical step will be like a snare, drop sample here, perfect, let's do it, great. And now we can do the same, create a clip. And this is fine, this works. But there is actually a device that allows us to play multiple one-shot samples at the same time in just one channel. And that's super comfortable because if we want to play a whole drum set like kick, snare, hi-hats, then we don't need to have like 20 different channels. So let's find that device. We need to go to our browser and we're going to go to drums, drum rack. This is another thing. You can see that I removed my MIDI channels, so now I only have audio channels. I can't drag an instrument inside of an audio channel, obviously, but I can drag it outside and it's going to automatically create a new MIDI channel. So that's nice to know. If you drop an audio file, it's going to create an audio channel. If you drop an instrument, it's going to create a MIDI channel. So here is our drum rack. If we go to our library, what I like to do when I create my drum racks is to throw different sounds, like for example, 3 or 4 kicks. And then we can go for some snares. For the sake of simplicity, I'm just gonna throw some hi-hats and that's it. But you can go super crazy as you want with this. We have a ton of space for samples here. So I'm gonna try to play this. When you wanna play with your keyboard, you need to activate this option here, which is the little keyboard. By default, it's going to come activated, but sometimes when you hit things in your keyboard, you might accidentally hit the letter M. M is going to deactivate it, but you can reactivate it by hitting M again. You will hit that by accident. I have my keyboard activated and I'm playing. You can see here that I'm playing the wrong sample because there is no sample there in C2. So how do I move from there 1 octave down, which is C1 where my samples are? You move octaves with the letters Z and X. So if I press Z one time, now when I press A, I'm on the correct octave. Great, so now we can actually play the whole kit. There is a way to record this by playing, but I would advise at the beginning to stick to drawing sequences in the same way that we did before, which would be to create a clip. And now we can see here that we have all of our sounds. If you activate this little headphones thing, you can listen to the sounds when you press the piano key. Now we can just play this. But as you can see, I don't have a clear reference of the BPM. What is going on? The BPM is up here on the upper left. This will be the BPM 140. You can change it by holding your mouse. You can change it by writing, whatever you prefer. And then this button is the metronome. The metronome is great for a reference. If we click the metronome, we can hear the tempo. To get a feeling if that's right, maybe we are starting with another instrument that is not percussive and we just want to lay down a melodic idea and we need a reference for the tempo. Remember when I talked about this little keyboard thing? Right next to it, we have like this pencil that you can activate. You can also use the key B, and the pencil allows to draw notes more quickly. I don't use it that much, but that's personal for me because I got used to doing double click. But maybe if you come from FL Studio, this is more comfortable. Another thing that I do here is duplicate, right? So I select this hat I want it here, I want it here, I want it here. Basically, I want a 4x4. I just select that area, which is 4, and I go pop, Control D, which is duplicate. You can go pretty far doing that. Another thing we have on the clip editor is this velocity. So we can select a note and decrease the velocity, the volume, the force that it has. And that's a super important aspect of music production, but I'm not going to be going deep into that. I've been hitting play all the time without telling you how to, but I assume you know that, which is spacebar. It's like playing our song and then pausing our song. We're going to add another instrument here. So if we go to sounds, you can see that we have a bunch of sounds. So I'm gonna look for synth. I don't really know what. You can preview sounds by clicking on them. I'm gonna select this one and I'm gonna just drag that into here so it creates automatically a new MIDI channel. Great, I'm gonna create a clip. Now, a thing that can happen is that you can open that clip and you're gonna see that this looks weird. It looks very small, and because now we are not working with samples like here, it's very clear what is what. Here is not, because these are notes. It's super confusing. So what I will do is just draw any note and then come here where you can see the magnifying glass and just do double click. Boom. And this is going to get much bigger. I don't know if you remember, but when we created the first clip for the drum rack, we had to click on play to be able to activate it. So if I hit my spacebar now, what do you think is going to happen? Nothing. I haven't hit this button yet. That's basically me saying, hey, you, play now. Once you press it, it's going to play forever. We have to hit any of these squares, which is basically so. If now I hit play, there's nothing playing because none of these are activated. If I activate this one, then only this one is going to play. Let's create a very basic sequence. So you might be asking one question in your head right now: how do we make longer clips? Maybe for a basic drum loop, this is alright. That's a 1 bar loop, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 bar. So how do we make it longer? There is a button that I recommend you use, which is a little hard to spot, but it's here. It's on this section. This is basically where we have some parameters that control things from the clip, but we don't care about anything right now except this duplicate button. And now what do you think is going to happen when I click duplicate? Well, we get a duplication from what we had, both in time and in whatever we had inside of that time. And maybe you already thought of this as well, but we can keep duplicating this. We can do like a small change here. What if I want to play this with my drums? We have to activate the drums again. Now we can do exactly the same as we did with this, duplicate the time with the drums. We can duplicate here, boom, we can make some changes. Great, now we can add a bass. This note is very high for a bass, so we want to move it maybe an octave lower and maybe even more. And we can actually move quickly an octave down or up by holding shift and then pressing up or down. And here comes a very interesting part about session view, which is that we can play with trying different combinations of things. So maybe we are playing everything. And maybe we want to try the drum with just the bass. Maybe we can pause the bass now to leave just the drum. And maybe now we want to play everything at once. Is there a way in which we can play all of this at once? Because now these two are deactivated and I want them to activate at the same time. These three are together. This is part of the same thing. Yet we have this horizontal line. What is this line? This is what in Ableton we call a scene. This is our second scene and this is our third scene. You can think of scenes as parts of your song. Maybe this is the intro. And this is a bridge. If we follow this line, and we ignore these two channels, we don't care about this right now, we go to main. This is our master channel where every sound is coming. So that's why you can listen to all of the sounds together because they are all combined here on the master channel. And as you can see, we got numbers. And this is the first scene, 1, second scene, 2, etc. So without making this more complicated, I can play a whole scene at the same time. Just drums, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is great because imagine we have like a second part here without kick or anything, just a snare, and maybe this same melody with the synth. We can copy this clip and paste it down here, and maybe here nothing. So now we have two parts of a song. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna make some changes to this melody in the second part. Here, just change some octaves. The interesting thing is that we can keep this and this playing on the first scene, but we are not limited to play just a single scene entirely. The only thing that we can't do is basically play two clips of the same instrument at the same time, because imagine these are people for a second. Imagine this is our drummer and it's called George. This is the guy who plays the synths and it's called John, and this is the guy who plays the bass and is obviously called Paul. George can play this part, but he can't play this part and this part at the same time. I know Ringo played drums, okay? I can tell George, hey George, play me this. Okay, George played this. While George is playing any of these two, John can play any of these two. So if George is playing that, John can play that one or he can play this one. So with that new knowledge, we can try a new synth part with the same drums and the same bass from the first part. And now we can play the next one. That's what I meant when I said a session view is very nice to beginners, because you can just throw things and it's super easy. And after this, I imagine you are asking in your head, yeah, cool, but I want to build this song. One thing that we can't do in session view is be precise. We can't make cool transitions from one part to the next one because there is no visual representation of what's going on. This is basically an infinite loop. And that was kind of the origin of Ableton. The program is actually called Live. Ableton is the company. And it's called Live because the reason why they created this program was to specifically assist electronic musicians and DJs to play small loops with their sets. That's why there is a huge emphasis on this program on triggering small loops and sounds in a very easy way. As you can see, we have the same channels with the same names, the same instruments, everything. Like I said, this is just a single project. The only difference is that we have clips here, but we don't have clips there. So one easy way to move them is just select all of them and you can just drag and drop into the icon where we change the view, and you make sure to match the colors, right? So pink goes with pink, because if you do this, then John is going to try to play George's part, and that's not going to work. So you can just place them here. They look kind of deactivated. If I play, it sounds, but it's actually sounding because these are still active. What does that mean? This is gonna sound more confusing than what it is, but it makes sense. The two views coexist together, right? So if I turn down this volume, is going to be turned down here. This is the same volume that we can see here. So if I turn down all of them, you can see boom, boom, boom. But if I turn up all of them, tune, tune, tune. The way Ableton works is that when we activate the arrangement view, we are telling Ableton, hey, please don't play these clips because now we want to play the clips here. How do we tell Ableton, hey, I want to work here now? We come here and you can see this orange play thing. It's basically an activation of all of the, hey, we are here now. As soon as I do that, if we go back to the session view, you can see that all of these clips are now turned off. They stopped, which means that if we come here and we make any change, like duplicating sound, we can do crazy things like that. Obviously, that doesn't make any sense showing you an example. And as you can see, we have the other part here. So we can actually start to move things around and decide the structure. So maybe it starts like this. And we can actually select and delete parts. So maybe we want some silence there. What we want to do is also duplicate this a few times, because now it's not going to be looping like before. Here, when the loop ends, the song ends. And the way in which you will develop your song is by making different parts. You can actually position your mouse, right, on any of these points, and you can click on this set button, and with the set button you can create like markers. If you click on the marker and do Ctrl-R command if you're Mac, we can maybe name this verse 1, and maybe here we want to make a chorus 1. So that's a nice way of being able to see what's going on. You can also change colors by doing right click. This is another command that is going to be useful, which is if we do Ctrl-1 we get smaller grid size. If we do Ctrl-2 we get bigger grid size, right? So maybe if we do a lot of Ctrl-2s, we can just select that part, but maybe we just want one of these like that, and maybe we can have that here, boom, just one. And like I said before, this is a nice place to work with audio because now we can visualize exactly what we have going on with the audio. Maybe we can put this here. Ableton has a function which automatically syncs whatever loop you throw, especially percussive loops. This loop is originally at 160 and our project is at 140, and as you can see, Ableton automatically syncs that. If you throw an a cappella, it's going to have a harder time. Ableton just can't find the beat and it's going to mess it up. But if you use percussive loops, you can have fun with this. And like I said, you can just do Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, maybe this, Ctrl-C and B, and then we can duplicate, Ctrl-D. This is something that we can't do here on session view. We can look at this loop and it's going to loop as well when you throw a loop instead of a one shot, but we can't edit here. We can't copy paste. This is just basically a way to reproduce that loop, but here we can. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. I think this covers the basics. You can actually select all of this and do file, export audio video. You select here the settings. You can do MP3 if you want. And yeah, show this to your grandma. Like I said before, if you don't know where to get samples, you should visit samplefocus.com. That's where I get most of my samples. You can get 3 free samples per week. And if you share your own samples, you get 4 credits for each sample. We have a ton of videos on the channel showing you crazy things that you can do on Ableton. If you are done with this video and you want to know more, take a look at the channel and see what you can find. If you want to see another video like this, maybe a continuation of this for the next basic steps like audio effects, automations and things like that, let me know and maybe I'll make one. Hope this was helpful and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.